Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining. We will give folks just about 4 minutes to join us, and then I promise to try to make this as short as possible. Alrighty, so again, thank you for joining. There is no pressure to turn on your camera or anything of that nature. Unfortunately, in this instance, I'll be doing most of the talking. But I did want to give us an opportunity to have a synchronous time to ask and answer questions for clarification, because much of this course is centered around the end product, which is a team collaborative effort on a kind of a business plan, business model. And it follows a leadership method, the POLC method, POLC method. And so module one starts to tiptoe into what that looks like. And then it also gives you an end in mind example of what this project looks like. And then just know that it's a gradual build up to that. So even though there's a little bit of a here's the end product and here are the rubrics and here's how you sign up in the front model, we have 15 weeks left to essentially complete this project within your teams. So more information gets trickled out, and more, what I mean by that is more content in terms of the different elements of the planning and the leadership and all of those things that go into the POLC model. That content gets rolled out, so you will have the ability to build upon your own self-efficacy to deliver the end product. But I really wanted to make sure that you had some comfort in knowing what the end product looks like and then how you're going to get there. And so in module 1, we do have our objectives, and then we have our time today that we are meeting. And thank you to whomever was able to let them in. In the looking ahead page, it gives you some rubrics and examples here. And so it tells you about the format. And again, I'll just pop this open, not that you can't read, but it tells you that it should be an APA 7th edition paper. Most of you are probably comfortable with APA at this point because you've been through some other courses in the program. However, if you're not comfortable with APA format, there are resources, and I'll show you those in just a second. But when you open Microsoft Office 365 and you go to type a paper, when you click on Document and New, you can actually pick a template for APA 7th edition. So you don't have to necessarily start from scratch. In addition, our librarians have an awful lot of resources that they have built up for students, and so those have been placed into the course. So it looks like you have your volume up. If you wanted to mute yourself, you're able to do that. And then down at the bottom, there is a rubric, and the rubric does tell you the basics for what the paper in terms of its content should look like in order to get full points. Where it tells you that the final paper has 5 parts, these are all being done by different people within your team. With the exception of part 1 is the collaborative effort. So all of these lead to your entity or your organization or your business, whatever you want to call it. The entity is the word that's being used throughout this course. One of you will take on the planning aspect. One of you will take on the organizing aspect. One of you the leading, one of you the controlling. And so it tells you here each one of you has one of these sections. However, everybody contributes to the part 1 section. And so that does require obviously some collaboration and some determining within your team how you meet. Will it be asynchronously? Is there some other format? What are your checkpoints of work? Because you obviously want to make sure that there's alignment within each of those POLC, and then obviously your page 1 there. And so there are some very quick examples here of what that might look like, but then within module 1, there is a sample paper, and this sample paper from another team in another class has part 1 here. So part 1 being the entity again. So we have our entity background. This is all working directly off of the rubric. You can see the headings and subheadings. They have made sure that they are accounting for every piece of the rubric. They give you some statistics, and then we move on past the first piece, and we get to somebody's contribution here. So within that team, somebody did the planning, and so this would be an individual's work. And so again, there's going to be alignment within their work, and then what the entity was at the top there. And then similarly, we keep going, and we have the organizing, and then obviously it continues with the L and the C. There's some individual portion samples as well, so if you wanted to break that down further and what that looks like, you are welcome to do so. A couple of these are related to the same work, but again, they're just examples. More examples tend to be better so that people don't get caught in one tunnel of this is exactly what it has to look like. Instead, there's some examples. There's some examples that probably needed a little bit of work, but again, you'll notice that when you start to dive into those and look at those as models for your your collaborative effort. I'm going to bounce back over to modules here. And so there is a POLC paper and sign up page. And this page is editable by all of you, but I do want to caution you that if all of you try to edit at once and don't save the page, it gets quite messy. And so as you are going in, as soon as you type your name in a section, push save. And I would also encourage you not to start typing in the section until you are ready to put in your name. So go through. We're working at different entities, or starting different entities rather, within a given city or township. Some of you expressed that you are interested in the healthcare field, and so we have a hospital. Some of you are looking at more entrepreneurial spaces, so we have a retail, education, hospitality, a service, and entertainment, and finance, or a bank. So it's really up to you where you would like to place yourself. But again, we only have the POLC model, so we have just the 4 letters of acronyms. So you're going to limit your team size to just 4. Within that group of 4, it really will be up to you to then decide the dynamics of your team. Which of you is going to be taking on which acronym in the leadership model? Which of you will be kind of the group leader that will end up compiling all of the documents at the end into one PDF? Which of you maybe will be kind of editing portions if that's something that your group decides to do, your team decides to do. So it's really kind of up to you and how you suss out those dynamics. And that's part of the leadership experience, right? Knowing when to lead, knowing when to follow, and knowing when your talent adds to the team and when you should defer to somebody else. I get all of those things. There is, towards the end of the project, when you do get to finally submit the final piece, there is, of course, rubrics for peers having the opportunity to talk about their experience with the other folks on their team. But really, at this level, we really try to leave as much of the team dynamics up to your individual team as possible, with, of course, check-in points. And so you're going to get check-in points along the way to make sure that your particular team is making progress towards the end product. So a few of us have already started adding our names where we would like to be. And so that tells me the page is working. Hooray. But that also gives you an inclination of kind of where you have some perhaps teammates inside of the course that have the same interest or the same career aspirations as you in terms of fields or disciplines. So I'm going to stop talking for a second, and I'm going to open it up to the floor if there are questions thus far about the final product being the paper and how groups and teams here get set up. And you're free to unmute yourself, or you can use the chat, whichever you're more comfortable with.
I have a quick question. So, are there any? Sorry, let me start. So, would there be specific like check-in dates for when we have to turn in assignments for this project? Like one day we'll have to turn in a section for the planning phase, another for the another phase.
Great question. So those are all individual contributions, and those will come again at the end of the course. When I mention check-in phases, it's really a check-in to make sure that there is progress towards, yes, your individual paper, but also the team dynamics of the paper. So within that big, huge group project that we saw, or the group paper, the team paper, those 4 broken down pieces, those are individual contributions that actually have the most weight on your final score for the course. So those will all be due at the same time as the final collaborative and compiled work at the end of the course. So you won't have to necessarily have that due by October for the whole project to be in December, if that's what maybe I misspoke and you understood. It all will come at the end of the course as far as final delivery.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure so that I didn't get confused between the two.
Yeah, valid question.
Since it's kind of like 2 group projects going at the same time, so I just want to make sure I'm able to like split them up and make sure I can tell the difference.
Got it. Yep. just one, you'll only write one paper as an individual, and that will get pasted right into your final team's collaborative effort. The exception being that part one in that rubric is what has to also be written within the context of submitting the final product.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
yeah. So if we look at that final product, what happened here is part one. This got written by the team collectively. However, each subsequent section, so part two, was written by one person, and that one person submitted this as their final in addition to the team paper. And so each person, the individual portion, so part two or part three, whatever you have been chosen or selected within your team, when you submit that, that has the most weight in comparison to the entire group project. So 2 grades, yes, but heaviest weight comes from your individual contribution, which would be one section of the 5 sections within the final paper. Great question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Like, okay, so with the project and all, as a team, we had to like basically pick one specific entity that we want to do, like as a whole team, like it's basically one entity, like as a whole for our group.
So yes, and you will write about the different leadership frameworks. Framework, you'll have your specified piece of that framework that all contributes to the success of your new entity. So again, with this one, they picked Public Works, Department of Public Works. So that was the entity. Then they wrote about the entity, but then each individual had one component in terms of the framework, the POLC framework, about which from this Department of Public Works, which is totally made up, it's not real. They wrote about that. So either the P or the O or the L or the C, one person individually would do each of those. And so this might be a better example here. This one person had part 5, the controlling aspect of the POLC model. And so they wrote their paper, and there's a rubric for their paper that tells them they have to essentially have about 3 pages, and it tells them everything that should be included within that paper. And so again, you see headings and subheadings where they're making sure they cover each aspect of the rubric. But again, this is just one specific portion, just the C for the entire entity / final paper.
Yeah, so basically like each person, they do like a 2 to 3 paper for themselves individually, then we put it together like as a whole. Okay, got you.
And then as a whole, you will collectively write part 1, which is just the background and information about your entity, introducing your entity.
I saw on the thing about like the presentation, like, so with the presentation, like, do we have to like meet up with you and like present the whole thing as a whole, or like,
So
is it like?
great question. When it comes to presenting, I want to be very, very cognizant of this is an online course within an mostly online program. Traditionally, instructors say come to campus and present, but again, I want to be incredibly cognizant of that. And so when it comes to presenting, I want to flex in there and be very flexible about modality. And so if the group would choose to come to campus and everybody has that availability, I would like to open that up. If you would prefer to do a Teams presentation, just because it makes more sense with your schedules to do such, I want to be open to that. If you prefer to put together a video, and so you have that kind of production to where nobody has to be at any given place at any given time, but you still have all the components of the presentation, I absolutely want to be open to that. So when it comes to the presentation, let's be flexible with modality in terms of what's going to work logistically with your group.
Okay.
What else? These are great questions. Okay.
I think I just had one more.
Please.
Like when we do our paper, like so let's say we already had signed up for a certain entity that we want to do. Like when we pick like which one we're gonna do, whether it's like planning, organizing, leading, controlling, like do we have to put on the side which one we want to do, or is it just like we just like have to just do one?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you have a preference, it's not a bad idea to state that early on.
Okay.
But at the same time, that'll be something that you and your group will decide in terms of who's going to do what aspect of the framework. But if you have a preference, there's nothing wrong with denoting that.
Okay.
Great question. We do have a couple of friends that could not be with us in person, so these are great for them. They'll get the recording later.
Looking forward through the coursework. Just confirming our assignments are due every 2 weeks. Is that correct? Because I've never had that with a course yet. So, okay. Just want to make sure that's what I saw.
Yeah, that's the way this particular course is structured. The due date should be every 2 weeks, and so obviously those will be checkpoints along the way as well. But I try to note those within the modules to let you know that for the most part you won't have something due until about 2 weeks, and so that hopefully gives you as a professional time to find a little bit of work-life balance there. I think there might have been one. Yep, this was it. This was the only one off was tonight within our module. After that, it's not until September 14th that we have due dates with this first module.
Fantastic. Thank you. I love that.
Yay.
I have a
Okay,
quick
so
question.
like, oh, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry.
You can go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if we wanted to rewatch this meeting again, where would we go to find it?
I'll paste a brand new page with the video that will be subsequent to where it says looking ahead. I'll paste the page right below here.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. It probably won't be available until tomorrow because it takes a little bit for Teams to build the video for me.
That's fine. I just wanted to ask if just in case if I needed to rewatch it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so like, this is a very dumb question, but like, so when it comes to our groups, we're meeting on Teams, right, with our groups, like if everybody's available, right? Okay,
You
because
certainly
after
can, yeah.
this, I was just gonna make a group chat, but I didn't want to scare them when I made the group chat. So just putting that out there.
That's the purpose of this meeting, so we can establish some of those norms, and so people are a little bit less afraid, like, who's this and why are they teamsing me right now? But that's totally an
Okay.
acceptable way to meet if you choose teams, whatever everybody has decided is going to work best for their group.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you one more question? So like I signed up for like the entertainment entity. Like when we come up like with an idea, like can you give me like this examples of what the entertainment entities are? Because this is my first time kind of like doing like a type of project like this. So I'm a little young, so I'm just trying to like learn things.
Well, again, that's a great conversation for your group because again, you're in a course with people that have an interest in a career field. I want to be very, very cognizant not to pigeonhole your mindset of what entertainment looks like, but I would flip the question back to you and ask you what you do for entertainment. Obviously, our economy around here being Orlando tangent, we have theme parks, or we have movies,
Okay.
or we have shows, or we have
Okay.
nightclubs. So it just kind of depends on what you and your group decide is entertainment, and then let's go from there.
Okay.
I do see a question from Ron. What is the cutoff for the sign up page? It won't cut off until Sunday at midnight. And then if we have people that didn't sign up, there is one spot for each person. But if somebody didn't sign up, then that's something I'll redirect and readdress. But Sunday at midnight, the page will freeze. And then Paulina has a question. Do we start working together and reaching out once the sign-up sheet is filled? So we've already got folks that are starting to, if they have a team that is filled, they're already moving forward. So it's up to you when you want to get going on it and have those conversations. My experience, what I would tell you is that it is great to have, even if it's non-rigorous question or conversations early on, because that builds a little bit of trust and comfort within the team, and then it becomes a lot easier to do the work on the back end. So whenever you guys are ready to start chatting with each other, I would encourage you to do so. Anything else for the group? All right. And I want to release your time back to you and not hold you up here just to hold you up here. But when you do have questions, please do continue to feel very free to respond. I try really hard to respond as quickly as possible when I do get communication. But if not, I apologize, but I will do my very best to get back to you within an hour or two if you have questions this evening. And I do anticipate that something will pop up as you start digging into this a little bit further. So enjoy your evening. Thanks for joining me for half an hour tonight. I truly appreciate it, and I hope this helped.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thank you.